Hey there, and welcome back to building a fast panda. So now I'm going to start adding details in, and first up I'm just going to be adding in the belly plate, and then I'll be adding in just the lower jaw, the eyes themselves, and I'll see how I'm going at that point. I would also probably work on the back as well, so I build the receiver onto the back. First up then, I'm just going to get the belly plate on, and I'll be back in a moment with that on. So first up, you can see I just applied the blob to the belly, and it's about 3mm long, 2mm wide. I'm trying to make it so it's slightly pear-shaped, so it's narrow at the top, flat at the bottom, and this is because of the shape of the panel that's actually on the fast panda's belly, if you look at any pictures. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the squidging end of the tool, and I'll just flatten this out over the belly, trying to keep it even and flat, and try and push it down so there's a slight pear shaped in the belly. Push it up, and then I'll use the cutting end of the tool just to cut in a notch at the top edge, which is the notch which you have on the belly of the actual fast panda models, which is where the light's meant to be. I've been using the original drawings from Corvus Belli in order to work this stuff out, because they publish all of these drawings, which makes them awesome, so thank you, Corvus Belli. So there's the basis for the belly all done, but I'm not quite happy with the bulk of it. I want it to come a little bit down, more down and under. I want to give it a bit more leeway up and arcing out around the top edges of the legs there, because I've just been looking at the miniature. I also want it to come a bit further up the chest, so I'm just going to take about another 2mm diameter blob, add it at the top edge. So it's been smoothed out and added the notch at the top, but I just want that a little bit of extra bulk in order to make it match with the fast panda styling, which is very much a big belly with a teeny little chest. And I feel like this belly is not big enough, so I don't want the belly to come any lower, but I do want it to come out and come up a bit higher. So I'm going to just add on these extra bits, and I'll do that. I'll just run blobs around the top edges of the legs where I want it to flare, and in the centre, and I'll bulk out just the middle as well. So like I say, I think about a 2mm blob should do it, but it might mean another 2x3mm blob. When you're working like this, work with tiny amounts, and keep on applying, keep on applying. This is a modelling process, which is where you add. Sculpting is where you take away. So I'll crack on with this, and I'll be back in a second. So here I've just blobbed on, and I've tried to form that sort of upside down T shape, so I've got the bits that will come round and around to form the top edge, and also the bit I'm going to push up to raise the belly up a bit higher. So I'm going to spread this out, even it out, and create the arcs I want, blending all this whilst the first layer upon is still wet. There you have it then, that's the belly in place. I know it's not as smooth and perfect as a Corvus Belli Mini, but I'm not the best sculptor in the world or best maker in the world. I just like making stuff, and occasionally I like to embark on these little projects, just as much as anything to push my own skills out, improve my green stuffing abilities, so if I do want to do modifications, etc. Conversions, change stuff on a Mini, do at least have the ability, the rudimentary skills to do so. I find this really difficult. I know back in the day this used to be the way miniatures were made. You'd make green stuff, cast off the green stuff, but nowadays of course everything's done on computers, and hence minis are so much cleaner, more accurate, more sort of perfect, if you like. Next up though, I'm just going to attach the bottom jaw. So he's facing you now, you can see the big blob sort of centrally on his head. Well, there's two indentations, but this kind of central blob, that's kind of his nose. So I'm just going to put in a tiny little blob underneath, which will make his mouth. And I'll put the blob in each of the indentations, and that will make the eyes. So then, once I've done that, I'll put plates around the head afterwards, to make up all the kind of plating and the cheek structure that you see in the miniatures. So I'm going to get that done, and I will be back in a moment. This is literally going to be using like tiny little, like 1mm by 1/2 mm blobs for each of the eye, and probably 1mm by 1mm for the mouth. It's all teensy weensy quantities of this stuff. So if and when you are doing this, do remember, don't mix up a load of green stuff, because unless you don't care about wastage because you've got money, in which case fine, do as you please. But for me, I'm super careful. Green stuff does last forever. If you are worried about storing it because you're not using it very quickly, chuck it in the freezer. This extends the life of your green stuff a very, very long time. So I'm going to just get this done, get the blobs on. Also with the eyes, I'm going to pierce the center of the eye so that there is like I want them to look a little bit like cameras rather than like just blobs. Or I might not pierce it, I might just flatten it. We'll see. I'll be back in a second when it's done. Here we've got the face in then, the jaw has just been moulded in, and I moulded in that smooth, so you just got that additional lump sticking out. Now, I didn't need quite as much as I thought for the eyes, which is always the thing, so instead of, I think I used like 1/2 mil blobs for each eye, and then having flattened it into place, tried to give it a slightly oval shape as I was flattening, so I flattened away from the nose, sort of the bridge of the nose, or to the side, rather than up and down, to try and extend it so it was slightly broader than it was tall. And this is to try and give it that kind of pseudo eye shape, which if you look at the fast pandas, they kind of have big cute eyes going on with their camera eyes. And then I've just used the tip of a cocktail stick to push in the centers to give that kind of lens effect. And I've tried to make it so that the lens is slightly closer to the nose, so that they almost have that cute eye effect in terms of creating sort of like, there's a metal panel if you like, which is slightly broader, and the lens is in the middle. Again, it's because of the cute eye effect which there is on the fast pandas. So next up I'm just going to do a bit of work on the back, starting to build the receiver transmitter array, which is illustrated on the back of the fast panda, which is essentially upside down triangle which has got some blobs, some circular receivery type things in it. So I'm just going to build the actual superstructure that the circular receiver type things go into, which is triangular and fits off of the back. So I'm going to get that done. I'm just going to put a blob on, and I will shape it into the triangular shape. Now remember, with something like this, when you're trying to do harsh corners, you can always leave it to dry and cut it later. So I'm going to show you the initial stages, and if I can't get it to quite the right shape, I will cut it next time, because I'll need to let this dry. So I'm just going to get that done, and I'll be back in a moment when it's ready. So here's my rough blob. I've tried to make it triangular, and from here I'm going to press in to this bottom edge. This should end up roughly hexagonal, not triangular. I looked carefully. Obviously it's infinity, hexagons everywhere. The other thing is it forms like a round blob off his shoulders. So I'm going to try and press it in and up, and then I'll cut across the back to form the blob that comes in his shoulders and create a bit of definition there. Then there are some final little details which I'll add on afterwards, but I'm going to just try and get this bit done first and let it set before I work any further into it. Here we have it then. This is the final, or beginning, the final beginning of the back. I've got that top half hex and it's built up to the shoulders. And then overall, spinning around, there we've got a face and the belly. So I hope that if you're deciding to build anything, it's coming together, and that you're just remembering to take your time, take it easy, and get it done carefully. This is a slow process, slow business, unless you really know what you're doing, and I don't, so I take a lot of time. Remember to look at drawings carefully. Make your own drawings if you're making your own thing. Look at, especially if you're looking at corpus belly stuff and doing something like the fast panda here. Look at the drawings, don't just look at the minis. The drawings tell you a lot of stuff that you might fail to see on the minis, and it might give you ideas of how you want to do it that you don't otherwise get. So thank you for watching, have a good one and take care. Bye bye.